Go ahead. Jeez, welcome, everybody, to the Green Local School District Board of Education meeting for the month of June. Mrs. Snowberger, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Campbell?
Here.
Mr. Herdlick?
Here.
Mr. Cohen?
Here.
Mrs. Finelli?
Here.
Mrs. Stoynoff?
Here.
Would you all please rise and join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance. We'll move right into the honors and recognition. Mr. Miller.
All right, so continuing with our PTA award recipients this evening, we're going to recognize the Friends of Children Award recipients. And at this time, can I please have Deb McNeil come forward to present our Green High School Award winner? And if you don't mind that little microphone, and if you could come on the other side of the table and face.
I can do it
That
however
way.
you'd like.
Thank you.
So there are many reasons that the librarians at the Green Branch Library should be recognized. They do a lot for the community, a lot for the children in the community. But the specific reason the PTA has selected this year to recognize Mary Tanner is for the continued support, her support of the National PTA Reflection Program. Each year, she serves as a judge and reads the many pieces of literature that are generated for the program by our students, K through 12. She's very fast and objective in her response. In their discussions about how she goes about it, she takes it very seriously. She says the kids have invested a lot of time, so she needs to take time to really understand what they're trying to convey in their writing. So many hours have gone into reading and judging over the years, but Mary, please come up. We'd like to thank you. Friends of Children.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to recognize the Friend of Children's Award winner from the Green Middle School PTA, and that is Mrs. Stacy Kitchen. I've had the pleasure of knowing Stacy for 10 years or more, since my little guy, who's now a sophomore, joined Cub Scouts as a first grader. And Stacy gives back to the community in many ways. She is a strong volunteer with Cub Scouts. And those of you who know Stacy know that her favorite thing to do is cook. And so she is constantly there making meals for the boys, making sure they're friendly. The reason why I chose to nominate her for the GMS Friends of Children Award is that Stacy has been volunteering with the Green Middle School PTA Carnival for 14 years, probably 13 years. Always in the kitchen, always making the food. And I can remember, I'll tell you this little story, when we first started in Cub Scouts, I was told, oh, Mrs. Kitchen will handle the cooking. And I thought, oh, okay, well, that must be her nickname. Isn't that cute? They call her Mrs. Kitchen. But actually, she married someone with the last name of Kitchen. So I think that's absolutely perfect, isn't it? So Stacy also serves the district as a bus driver. My child only rode the bus when he got to ride Mrs. Kitchen's bus. And she's also famous for cooking hot dogs. The only hot dogs Noah will eat is a Mrs. Kitchen hot dog, which one time she whispered to me and said, all I really do is steam them. It's not that big of a deal, but there's something special about what Stacy does. And so thank you, Stacy, for all your years of volunteering, making events special for all of our children. And you have long since had children at the middle school, so we thank you for coming back every year and making the carnival special. Come on up.
Next up, Green Intermediate School.
Good afternoon. I am here to present the Green Intermediate PTA Friends of Children Award to two people who have been a part of Green Soccer since 1994. John and Vicki Pearsall raised their children in Green, and they have been a part of the Green Soccer Association for many, many years, and they continue to put in countless hours for the children of Green, and particularly for the youth soccer players. Vicki has been a registrar with GSA for over 20 years, and she's been instrumental in the administrative side of running the association. She has put in also countless hours in terms of being a graphic designer and has designed much of the school's spirit wear out of the goodness of her heart for countless years. And she also does weekly newsletters for several Green teachers. John has also been quite involved with GSA for a long time, and in fact, he helped design and was instrumental in the building of Spring Hill way back when. He has coached multiple teams and is again currently coaching for GSA. They both have always been willing to give a helping hand to anyone, and just want to congratulate them for their award.
And Green Primary School.
Good evening. My name is Janet Hill. I'm actually the former president of Green Primary PTA, and I'm here to present Rebecca Anstein with the Friends of Children Award for our PTA. And I'll go ahead and read it and may make some comments. We'll see. Rebecca Anstein is truly a friend of children. She helps children while she's on the clock and also after hours. Let's start with Rebecca's time on the clock. Rebecca holds 2 positions for Green Local Schools. She assists children in Greenwood's cafeteria as a lunchroom aide. This can be a very sticky job, not one she takes lightly. Rebecca takes the time to learn each child's name and still says hi to them by name years later. Second, she's a parent mentor. And a parent mentor, as defined on the website, is a parent of a child with a disability employed by the local education agency to help districts and families by providing training, support, and information services. Rebecca is someone you want on your team. Rebecca supports many families in our district as a parent mentor, going above and beyond for each and every family. One example of Rebecca going above and beyond was asking the Bulldog Dash to have an inclusive 200-meter dash. And not only did she ask that the committee add that to the event, but she stepped in and volunteered for the entire event, not just that little 200-meter dash. So now she's part of the committee. So that's just one small thing that she's done for the schools here. And moving on to more volunteering, besides the Bulldog Dash, Rebecca volunteers much of her free time to Children in Green. Rebecca is someone that gets the job done. She has held various positions for Green Primary PTA these last 4 years. She jumped in and helped out with Ways and Means, which is basically fundraising, her first year, and then the next 2 years she was the vice president for Greenwood for our PTA. She's always there. She works as the cafeteria aide there, so nothing slips by Rebecca at Greenwood. She's the go-to person. And finally, this past year, she served as a treasurer for our PTA. And she's done a great job with that as well. She's kind of silly, but we have a report that we do for each meeting. It's on one page now, so you can see all the income that's come in and then all of our spending, the money that's gone out. On one sheet of paper, you don't have to go looking. It's always right there. And finally, for next year, Rebecca has volunteered to be the president for our PTA next year. So yes, I can finally retire after 3 years. Well, sort of. that's how it goes with volunteering. So besides PTA, Rebecca is actually involved in her son's Cub Scout pack. She serves as a Cub Scout assistant leader and also serves on the Cub Scout committee. As a former Cub Scout mom, my son just crossed over this past February. Just being a Scout mom is pretty busy. There's always something going on with Scouting. However, she's a leader, so not only does she attend the meetings, she helps plan the meetings and helps present the content of the meeting. And then another layer on top of that, she's on the committee for the PAC. And the committee plans all the events for the entire PAC for the entire year. So, I don't know when Rebecca sleeps. Maybe you guys know. But yeah, she's one busy lady. So clearly, Rebecca Anstein is a friend of children. So you want to come on up? She wants to talk. Oh, no. Okay. She doesn't want to talk. All right, my new hat for next school year is the Green Council of PTA's president. So the council has a Friend of Children Award this year, and it goes to Jennifer Dewar. Don't worry, Jennifer's not going to talk, so we don't need tissues. I don't know if any of you have ever heard her at a meeting. You almost always need tissues. She's got passion, and it's very contagious. All right, so Jennifer Dewar is the coordinator of the district's Blessings in a Backpack program. She's always reaching out to the community for the betterment of all kids for basic food, clothing, and shelter. Jennifer goes above and beyond to secure funding for this program and is heavily involved in implementing fundraisers. She recently has begun a quest to secure a summer feeding program for the district. She will get it. She will get it. Mark my words. She's a lady that gets things done. Well, in addition to feeding the children of Green, she also provides and hosts team meals for her son's swim team, not to be forgotten. As mentioned above, Jennifer as a volunteer spends countless hours for the betterment of the students and families of our district. She's one of the most unselfish persons that we know and is vested with our kids 100%. So thank you, Jennifer.
Congratulations to all those individuals recognized, and thank you for all that you guys do for our kids in district. Next up, I would like to bring up Gina and Stephanie. I believe those are...
Just use the handheld, I think.
Yeah, if you don't mind, and,
Sure.
and just face this way
Yeah.
since TV screen's that way.
Okay. So I want to echo the kind remarks said about Jennifer. For those of you that don't know, I'm Stephanie with the Akron-Canton Regional Food Bank. In addition to all the wonderful things that Jennifer does within your district, she is actually a rock star champion and advocate for hunger relief at the Akron-Canton Regional Food Bank as well. This year, Jennifer lended her time to coming out and speaking to one of our top corporate donors and sharing the impact of their donations and how it does help programs such as Blessings in a Backpack. So thank you again for your support of the food bank and really the largest demographic of those that are suffering from food insecurity in our 8-county service area, which are those under the age of 18. So we very much appreciate your passion and your commitment to that. Why I'm here this evening, though, is to celebrate the wonderful success of the Green Local Schools collection for the Akron-Canton Regional Food Bank's Harvest for Hunger campaign. So during the month of April, there were 20 different school districts that collected for the food bank's Hunger the Bus Stops Here challenge. And on April 30th, Green Local Schools was one of 21 school buses that actually met over at Faith Family Church and then corralled single file up 77 North to the food bank, and collaboratively it was the single largest donation we have had for our Harvest for Hunger campaign. All of these districts together were able to provide 41,000 pounds of food, all stuffed into school buses, and we had about 50 volunteers that helped unload all of those buses. Specifically here in Green Local Schools, you were able to collect 2,737 pounds, in addition to the $867 that was collected. That equaled 5,749 meals for our community. So with that, I am pleased to present to Green Local Schools a bronze level award for the amount of food that was donated to the Akron Canton Regional Food Bank's Harvest for Hunger campaign. Congratulations, and thank you so much for your tremendous support.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, back over to me. Thank you very much for, wow, I was writing down the numbers and I was just like, just blow me away. So it's, but working with all these volunteers and everything, and all the volunteers across the district, it's just amazing what they're able to do. I think everybody has a feel-good story about Jennifer, and she does make everybody cry, but it's for the right reason, but it's not to take away from anyone else. So thank you all for all your time and all your just selfless giving to the district and the kids. Before we move on, if any of you do not want to stay for the rest of the meeting, we'll go ahead and let you gather up your stuff and just kind of make your way through the back, and we'll kind of pause here until we get things settled down. That's unacceptable. I'm gonna have to work on that for
Oh,
next year.
boy. Maybe it'll show up someday.
All right, and as the last people are making their way out, we'll move on with the agenda here with the approval of the agenda. We don't have any items to add, so do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Finelli.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Mrs. Snowberger?
Mrs. Finelli,
Yes.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Hurdlick,
Yes.
Mrs. Stoynoff.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. We have no need for executive session at this time. If there's anybody who wants to speak on what the agenda will be for this evening, please make your way. If you just general comments, we'll save those to the end. So if we don't see any, then we'll, oh. I'm not sure when I should go. More of a general comment, I guess. Okay, why don't we save it to the end if you don't mind? Okay. We'll make sure you get your time somewhere in there, so. Without anybody looking to speak, we'll move on with the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the regular board meeting minutes of May 21st, 2018?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Stoynoff.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hurt. Mrs. Snowberger.
Mrs. Stoynoff,
Yes.
Mr. Hurdlick,
Yes.
Mrs. Finelli,
Yes.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item 8, financial report. Superintendent and Treasurer recommend the Board of Education approve the financial report and payment of bills as presented by the Treasurer. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Finelli.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hurdlick. Mrs. Snowberger.
Mrs. Finelli,
Yes.
Mr. Hurdlick,
Yes.
Mrs. Stoynoff,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Cohen.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Item B, the Superintendent and Treasurer recommend the Board of Education approve the fund-to-fund transfer of $3,485.87 from the general fund to the Destination Imagination Fund in support of the group's travel to global competition. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Stoynoff. Can you make, I mean, I know
Yeah, so
this is a pretty cool,
so I'm going to talk about the Destination Imagination briefly, and then Edie, if you can talk about the money part of it. But Destination Imagination, we have multiple teams in our district at the middle school and intermediate school. One of our teams, they actually were recognized at an earlier board meeting. They moved past our local competition, they moved past the states, and then for Destination Imagination, which is a STEM program, which stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math, they have different topics each and every year. Teams come together to try to design. It may be making a robot that does certain things one year. The next year it can be something completely different. So obviously that's a wonderful academic program. Well, this team did such a fine job that they got to go to Globals, which is the next level after state. It was in Tennessee. And the team went down, competed, did extremely well. We were very proud of the group of young men that went down. And I know that we have a lot of our teams that'll be looking to do a repeat next year. So we just want to thank them for their hard work and dedication to that. And then if you could talk a little bit, Edie, about the financial side of it.
Sure. So this is one of the student activities where there are no fees to get in. They don't charge anything. And they really, for years and years, have had nearly zero expenses. But to go to the actual competition, they actually had to stay in a dorm type of situation. They had to get there on their own. There was no transportation. And Mrs. McFedries went above and beyond. She started a GoFundMe page, which many people gave thousands of dollars to help them get there. And she had pizza nights and Chipotle nights. She really did go above and beyond. So this was the remaining amount that was needed to make them whole back to zero for this competition. It's not unusual for the board to transfer money to do different clubs and sports if they do make it that far, which is what they did. And there was 5 young men that was on the team, so they really kind of needed some financial help to get that last push to be able to go. So,
Thank you, and certainly it's one of those things that, as a board, I'm proud to be donating and getting this part of the thing for that kind of exposure and that kind of stuff for our kids. But great job by everybody involved.
Are we going to have the opportunity to see the results? I know they talked when they were here last that they would have some video for us. Hopefully we can reach back out.
Yeah, I'll do that.
It's a robot that looks like a treasure. No. Anyways, Mrs. Snowberger.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Mrs. Stoynoff,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mrs. Finelli,
Yes.
Mr. Hurdlick.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item C, the superintendent and treasurer recommend the Board of Education approve the final fiscal year 18 permanent appropriations as submitted by the treasurer. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Finelli. And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Stoynoff. Any questions or comments? Mrs. Snowberger?
Mrs. Finelli,
Yes.
Mrs. Stoynoff,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Mr. Hurdlick.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item D, the superintendent and treasurer recommend the Board of Education approve the fiscal year 19 temporary appropriations as submitted by the treasurer. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Hurdlick. And
Second.
Second, Mrs. Stoynoff. Edie, I know this is a standard thing, but you mind just,
Sure. This is a requirement that the board approve these appropriations in order to be able to spend money in the new fiscal year until final appropriations are approved at the October board meeting. Basically, all it is 25% of the funds that were spent in the previous fiscal year, which is 18. I know it's a little confusing, but fiscal year 19 starts on Saturday. So that's kind of my calendar in my life. So this starting salary on Saturday, in order to spend any money, including payroll, we have to approve these temporary appropriations.
okay, thank you. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Hurdlick,
Yes.
Mrs. Stoynoff,
Yes.
Mrs. Finelli,
Yes.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item E, the superintendent and treasurer recommend the Board of Education approve the secondary students transition grant from the Ohio Department of Education in the amount of $1,393.50, effective May 24th, 2018. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Finelli. Questions or comments? Mrs. Snowberg.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Mrs. Finelli,
Yes.
Mr. Hurdlick,
Yes.
Mrs. Stoynoff,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item 9 under new business, the consent calendar note. As always, items under the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted under one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items prior to the time the board votes unless a board member requests an item be clarified or even removed from the consent calendar for separate action. We don't have any changes to what's printed, so do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hurdlick, and thank you, Mrs. Stoynoff. Questions or comments?
I just want to, if Mrs. Brown would just come forward. We have 2 of our newly hired staff that came here this evening. If she could introduce them.
Introduce 2 of our new staff members at Green High School. Ms. Felica Ross will be joining us as a language arts teacher, and Mr. Michael Moran will be joining us as a science teacher. So congratulations and welcome.
And Also, just want to touch on briefly, 10A just states that Mrs. Kim Bruick will be doing our district compliance officer. This is something that every year we take a look at, and this is, currently it's replacing Mr. Lowmiller, who I wanted to recognize and thank for his service to the district. After a few years here, he is actually going to be departing the district and going to another place of employment. So I want to thank him, and I know things were better than when he started, and he's leaving them better behind. So I just wanted to address that. And then with that, just touch on briefly with our choir, a couple of different opportunities moving forward that the students are going to have to be able to compete. 2 trips, one they only miss a half day of school, one is connected to spring break, so they only miss 1 day of school. But these competitions really bring out the best in our fine arts team members, and I've seen firsthand just how tremendous the kids do, what a great job. In these competitions, they get to go against other talent, and obviously that inspires them to get better. And, you know, a lot of times they're coming back with top scores as well, so it's just a great thing. And it does say a lot, too, about you know, just our choir staff and what they do to give up a little bit of your spring break, you know, to shorten so the kids aren't out of school says an awful lot, and we appreciate what Mrs. Pickering does for our kids in district. So just wanted to touch on that.
For sure, thank you. Mrs. Snowberger?
Mr. Hurdlick,
Yes.
Mrs. Stoynoff,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes,
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Mrs. Finelli.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
thank you. Item B, the superintendent and treasurer recommend the Board of Education approve a 10-cent increase to the following school lunch and breakfast pricing for the 2018-19 school year as follows. Green High School will see lunches at $3.25, Green Middle School $3, Green Intermediate School $3, Primary School $2.75, Greenwood Early Learning $2.75, and all district breakfasts will be $1.85. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Stoynoff.
Second.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Hurdlick. Any questions or comments? I'll just throw one in there. A couple of years ago, it's amazing how all of the lunch pricing and everything gets put into the federal, I think the federal money, is that right, Edie? That we
Yes.
did?
Yes.
And they actually came back one time and critiqued us because our prices were too low. And it was like, you got to be kidding me. So a lot of this is just kind of keeping in guidelines with what the federal government would like to see in order for to continue to support us through their fiscal support as well. So, Mrs. Snowberger, call the roll, please.
Mrs. Stoynoff,
Yes.
Mr. Hurdlick,
Yes.
Mrs. Finelli,
Yes.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item C, the superintendent and treasurer recommend the Board of Education approve the 3-year agreement with NetBees System for network connectivity, troubleshooting, and monitoring solutions at a cost of $4,685 per year. This cost reflects a 30% savings for a multi-year contract and educational discount. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Second, Mr. Hurdlick.
Sure.
Thank you. Mrs. Snowberger?
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Mr. Hurdlick,
Yes.
Mrs. Stoynoff,
Yes.
Mr. Campbell,
Yes.
Mrs. Finelli.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Just on item C, it's kind of like that LifeLock type stuff. Well, not LifeLock, but
Yeah, so the-
similar to that, right?
Yeah, the best way to explain it is, obviously with technology, we're so dependent and we utilize it throughout the district and in the buildings. What this program will do is give instantaneous alerts when a system is down. So it could be at 10 p.m. at night if our middle school service is down or an online assessment is down. We know instantaneously, and our people can troubleshoot and fix it, where currently this year we had a few times where teachers prep, teachers plan, teachers come in the morning, kids are prepared and ready, and technology's down. And what this system would have done is told us last evening at 10 p.m., so first thing in the morning, our people can come and attack these issues, and if it's something critical, I know our people have come in the late evening as well. So this monitors all different systems connected to technology, and like everything else these days, you get alerts sent to your phone, so you can't get away from those messages telling you that something's there.
Okay, thanks. Item D, the superintendent and treasurer recommend the Board of Education approve with Life Touch school portraits as presented for the 2018-19, 2019-20, 2021, 21-22 school years. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Spinelli. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Questions or comments?
And again, it's just, obviously, there's a lot of things on the agenda that we're planning for next year. So school pictures are something that come up every single year, and we need to get those dates set and make sure everything's organized and set up. So we're on here, and the buildings have been partners with Life Touch. They've done a very nice job, and I know having 3 kids in the district, getting different pictures, they do a really nice job, quality, and I think their customer service is a really nice job. So we appreciate that partnership with our schools.
Thank you for that. Mrs. Snowberger?
Mrs. Finelli?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Hurdlick?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoyanov?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. On the clipboard, do we have
There's
anybody?
nobody on there.
I know that somebody wanted to speak. If you, now's the time we'll open it up for public comments.
You're up.
Sorry about that. Yeah, if you can just grab the handheld just that way, it's
Or
on
she
the,
do the podium, or is that not working?
I don't think the
It's
podium
not
one
It's
is
not
working.
working. Okay.
And
You have to do the handheld.
Yeah, just
The
use the
handheld one,
handheld
yeah.
one if you would.
And I'm going to read because I have a tendency to ramble. So,
That's all right.
my name is Mike Simodi. Until about a few weeks ago, I was the girls' head soccer coach for Green High School. I come before you today to ask you to consider the time of year that you guys post and hire on your supplemental positions. I understand that all positions are you're not guaranteed. You get a year, and then all positions are posted internally every year. People that are qualified can obviously apply. Completely understand that, so I'm not asking for a contract change on how that works. Although as a non-teacher, it wouldn't be a bad idea, but we can talk about that later. But my ask is you change the time of year that you post these. I know we talk about encouraging multi-sport athletes, which I fully support, but the reality is high school sports have become a year-round commitment for the student athletes. This means that coaches also need to be involved in the off-season. They need to oversee lifting, conditioning, open fields, whatever they need to do for that particular sport that they're coaching. Speaking from a girls' soccer perspective, we've been working since January. Again, it's all volunteer. You're not required to come, but that's a lot of time. I'm not even worried about me. I do it because I have a passion for the sport. But for those girls, that's a commitment on their, on their end. It's a lot of time that they put into this. And also from a girls' soccer's perspective, we're told to do a top-down approach, which means not only develop a plan for the high school, but also develop a plan for the youth, which, just on record, I don't understand how those two are connected or why that's a requirement of the high school position, but that's a conversation for another day as well. But one of the things I was told is that my youth plan wasn't detailed enough when I re-interviewed for the position. But what I'm trying to say, and I'm not trying to, that's why I wrote it down because I get off track, I'm willing to give any time and dedicate it to the position, but to put all that time and effort in on my part, on the girls' part, we actually ran a youth soccer camp while I was interviewing for the position because we had so many people committed. And then 2 days later be told, oh, by the way, you didn't get renewed, not because you can't coach, not based on your past 3 years' experience, but based on the fact that you're not a teacher. I get that. The kids don't. I think that's what we're missing in this. We're not taking into account how much time and effort have the girls put in. I'm speaking girls strictly because I can only talk to my program. How much time did they put in? And now all of a sudden, the camps we had planned, some of the fundraisers we had planned, even just team bonding things we have, that's all out the window. Rightfully so. I mean, it's a new coach. They're going to come in with whatever. I'm not knocking what's going to happen, but what I'm saying is when you don't post these things till May and you've been working for 6 months, how does that make the girls feel? I mean, forget the adults in the situation, right? But the players now have to overcome that. They don't know what's going on. It was still up in the air up until 2 weeks ago. Soccer, you can ask any coach, it basically starts full on in June, where the coaches are not involved, but they're overseeing things that are going on because nothing can happen until August. So what I'm trying to say in all of this is maybe it's January, February. I don't know what the solution is. Believe me, I would still be willing to help and work it out, but there has to be a better way. because I don't think the kids understand the contract and how that works. And so they're angry, the parents are angry, like, how can this happen? And just as a side note, at Green, for my seniors, this will be the second coach they've had in 4 years. For the program, it's the fifth head coach they've had, or the third head coach they had, excuse me, in 5 years. What's that doing when we talk about an educational-based system of athletics? What are we saying there? I don't think that's building culture. I don't think that's building continuity. That's my sour grapes. I got done with that. But again, my point is, look into maybe we can change the supplemental postings. So, thank you for your time. Sorry that I rambled.
That's right. We'll give that to you. Thanks, Mike. Anyone else? Let's open it up if people have comments or questions. If none, then we'll move on with the board accommodations. Oh, sure, go ahead.
I'm talking on behalf of previous seniors.
I'm sorry, if you can just give your name, I apologize.
Margie Ford.
Okay, thank you.
I feel like something needs to be done to have a better communication with seniors on senior activities. For high school kids that are high school, they're getting all the information. Career Center kids are not. The Credit College Plus kids are not. I've had a daughter who was in College Credit Plus, who went to Stark State, never touched foot into the high school, would go into the high school to check with her counselor, and told, well, why are you here? You already graduated. No, I didn't. I'm a senior. And she would tell them that repeatedly and still be told, what are you doing here? You've already graduated. And not finding the information on websites and things like that. My current daughter, who just graduated, was at the Career Center. Information not communicated. The kids went to the Green Primary School, got left out. The Career Center kids did not know anything about it. When they did find out that the Career Center kids did not know, they said, well, there's personal invitations that were sent to the high school, and I asked the teacher that gave them to the high school, not all Career Center kids are half day. There are full-day kids that go to the Career Center. They don't step foot in the high school. And she goes, oh, I left the invitations at the front desk. Those invitations never got sent down to the Career Center to let those kids know that there was a walkthrough and they would be able to go down and open the time capsules at the Green Primary. That's not cool. It's something else needs to be done. The other thing is different communication. They said, well, it's on the senior website. Not all the information got put on the senior website. When they said, well, they need to go to Google Classroom. The JVS kids, or the Career Center kids, some of them couldn't get into it. When they would go in there and ask, well, we can't get into the Google Classroom. Well, I don't know what to tell you. So then they're saying, when they go to the high school and call, well, it's in the Google Classroom. We don't have access to it. But then they're saying, well, everything's supposed to be on the Green Senior webpage. Not all the information was there. Well, look at the daily announcements. Not all the information in the daily announcements. Something needs to be changed so that seniors have the information and that the Career Center kids know what's going on. The College Credit Plus class know what's going on. That way they can participate in everything. They are still Green High School students, regardless of where they're going and where they're getting things and learning their education. They're still graduating from Green High School. There needs to be continuity, whether you were saying about alerts on your phone. I have been saying that for 2 years now. Have some type of a like an alert that says, hey, this is coming up. Reminder, this is an event that's coming up. If you're going to have a senior website, have a calendar of events. Keep it there so they all can see it and keep it updated on a regular basis. Something needs to change so all seniors know exactly what's going on. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. And, as just having a senior that graduated, there was sometimes where the flow of information is somewhat, certainly not as direct as what it used to be. So, and I think with more kids doing stuff outside of school, you almost kind of like, it's almost like, oh my gosh, there's, it's that moment. But we appreciate you bringing that up because, obviously if you're not aware or don't really know exactly what's going on, we can't fix the problem. So thank you very much for commenting on that.
And just on a personal note, thank you very much. Ashley is your daughter, correct? Yes. Hi. Yeah, and I was wondering why you weren't at the at the time capsule thing because you were in Denton's class. So now I get it. Good luck. I hope the firefighter thing worked out. Is that? Yes. All right.
Anyone else? Oh, sure.
My name's Austin Elkins. I just graduated, and kind of piggybacking off of the lack of communication between Green High School and Portage Lakes Career Center, I would consistently have to go to the high school to get any information. And when I would walk in there, I would ask for something. I'd be told, you have to go to this person. That person wouldn't know, and he'd direct me to somebody else, or she wouldn't know. And it seems that the communication issue isn't just between Green and PLCC. It's more within Green and PLCC both. I actually went to go get graduation tickets, and I was told another teacher had them, but he wasn't there. Nobody could find them. And then finally, I go back to the same person who I originally asked, and she goes, "Oh, I have them right here. I forgot." My issue is that I was not invited to the time capsule, being the last class to exit Kleckner. My parents were mad over it. I had no clue when dates were coming. I had no clue when prom was. I had no clue when homecoming was. There was no dates posted, and going off of the Google Classroom, every time I tried to go into it, it would tell me wrong password, and I'd go to the school, and I'd be told that I couldn't be helped. And then when I finally got into it, I couldn't see half the posts. I'd get into it, and this wouldn't be there or this, or we'd be told that we'd get something on there, and I'd go in there, and I wouldn't see it for 1 or 2 weeks. Or something would happen, and then I'd just now see it. There's definitely got to be another way to effectively communicate with students that don't always step foot in Green. And that's the thing that I believe the administrators at Green forget is that students at PLCC are still graduating from Green. Students doing College Credit Plus are still graduating from Green. That's all I have.
Okay, thanks. And we certainly, again, this is kind of the same comments. We certainly appreciate that, and I would kind of say that, well, I wouldn't kind of say. I'd definitely say that they are aware of where everybody is coming from and going to, and there's a lot of things that go on behind that, and so, and maybe it's just a little bit of a communication kink more than it is a lack of their attention or a lack of effort. So, but I will say that if you're willing to, Mrs. McMahon, maybe you could get some contact information from them, and so that, we can kind of have you kind of write down some of the things that you tried and maybe some of the dead ends that you ran into or some of the kinks in the road, and then we can kind of, maybe focus on those initially and then kind of work on that communication avenue and clean that up. I'm sure it'll be a good thing to get straightened out. So thank you very much for your comments, really. Anything else? Okay, great. Mr. Hurdlick, if you want to start us out this evening?
Sure. Once again, let's like to welcome our new staff members to Green Local Schools. Look forward to working with you for as young as you are, many years. Easy. So congratulations. Like I said, look forward to working with you, all of us. It's a nice family to be a part of, and we look forward to working with you. With the end of the season, school season, obviously, I'd just like to thank all of our staff, starting with our teachers, our administrators, the bus drivers, our custodians, everyone, the cooks and our lunch ladies, and all of our volunteers that all work together to put on another good year here at Green Schools for our kids. So I just wanted to say thank you to all the hard work that they do. I know we don't recognize them, or they don't get a chance to be recognized as often as we'd like to, but I would like to congratulate them and thank them for all their hard work and continued work, and look forward to another year next year. I'd also be remiss not to say I will be missing Dan Lohmiller. He was a wonderful addition to our administrative staff, so my congratulations to him on his new opportunity. I know it's a job that he will knock out of the park. It's right in his wheelhouse, so congratulations to him, but we will miss him here, and it'll be a hard time, but we will work hard to fill his shoes. And everyone enjoy their summer.
Thank you, Mark. Mr. Cohn.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. I would also like to welcome our new teachers, and it's maybe not that you're so young, it's maybe that Mr. Herdlick is so old.
Easy.
Although I do have to agree, wow, they're getting younger every year. And I also will miss terribly Mr. Lohmiller. He was a great addition to the district, and I know we all wish him well in his future endeavors. Just want to comment, graduation I thought went off very smoothly. We always appreciate when things go smoothly for the ceremony. I know it was particularly meaningful for Mr. Campbell and myself, and just wanted to thank all the administrators for putting on such a good show. And I'd like to echo Mr. Herdlick's comments and congratulate everybody for such a great year. I've been on this board, I think, 2.5 years, and I just want to say it's just a pleasure to serve with these people and to partner with the administration and the staff and the teachers, and it's just really nice being able to come to these board meetings every month and know that you're working with people that put the interests of the students in the district at the forefront. So,
Thank you, Mr. Cohn. Mrs. Spinelli.
Well, I just piggyback on everything everybody else said. The graduation ceremony was great, and it was a privilege and an honor to give out some of the diplomas. So congratulations to the class of 2018. And we had a good time at the safety levy, I guess it was fundraiser, yes. And it was a lot of people. It was great to see so many people. And don't forget to vote on August 7th. And of course, we're going to miss Dan Lohmiller, and I'm still mad at him, but but he's a great guy. He really is. And welcome to our new teachers.
Thank you, Mrs. Spinelli. Mrs. Stoyno.
I guess it's old by the time it gets down here, huh? But congratulations and welcome to our new teachers. We're very happy to have you, and I think you'll find that the Green Schools family is a great family to be a part of. Graduation was wonderful to see all of the students cross the stage and move on to what is next. And I did want to take just a second because I've received a lot of questions, and I promised that I would address a couple of these things related to Mrs. Finelli mentioned the Safer Green Schools Levy Issue 1 that's on the ballot. There has been some postings on social media that are wholly and solely inaccurate, and I think it is the job of this board to make sure that accurate information is out there so that individuals can make up their mind and vote in the direction that they think is best. I'm not sure why people have chose to post inaccurate information when they were supplied with accurate information, including this PowerPoint that we talked about at the May board meeting. But that's a matter that I guess I won't understand. But I want to make a couple things clear. We followed the process. This is not a stealth levy. We followed the process from our March 1st meeting through to putting this on the ballot. We've said the same thing consistently, that this levy will pay for 4 additional school resource officers. The City of Green pays for an officer. That we were never in question about who was paying for that officer. The City of Green is doing that, and we appreciate that. So we're asking for 4 additional school resource officers to put 1 at each building. We will be hiring 2 full-time family support specialists to work with our care team. We'll be hiring 1 full-time early childhood mental health consultant, which that information was provided through a public records request. And then the additional funds, it's not a we'll figure it out later. We knew exactly where those additional funds would go, and that's to purchase and enhance our security in our building, which could include cameras, some sensors and things of that nature. These are the things that, as part of our safety plan, we don't discuss in detail in public. And what I tell people who ask me is, you don't tell people how you secure your house, right? Because that makes it easy for people to come in and break in. Same principle applies here. So I wanted to be clear that that has never changed and has always been accurate. As far as grants go, we pursue grants, and we pursue grants that coordinate with our safety plan. So there are grants that were posted about that we were already aware of, and we are looking into those grants. But I want to make it clear that we can't grant our way out of this need, because grants pay for very specific things. And so we cannot just pick a grant, apply for it, and all of a sudden our needs in the safety area are taken care of. You have to spend those grants as they're dedicated. If you don't, then they come back and ask for the money. One example is a grant that we had applied for previously. It was said that we didn't follow through. Well, there's a reason for that, because when everything came out, the grant actually wasn't for what we needed to do as far as enhancing some of our buildings. So it's, I guess, a thing where I want everybody to make sure they have the accurate information. And so that's why I wanted to take time to clear this up on the record. The committee for the levy has done a wonderful job putting together information that's out there at safergreenschools.com, where you can get all this information. You can ask questions. But I wanted to make sure that we were clear, that there was no confusion about why and what we were looking for. So thank you for your patience in allowing me to clear that up. I appreciate it. And I wish everybody a wonderful rest of the summer.
Thank you, Mrs. Stoynoff. And again, just to reiterate, the website is, one more time?
safergreenschools.com. You can also type into the search in Facebook, support Safer Green Schools, and you'll get to the Facebook page that then links you back to the website.
Okay, thank you. And on that website, you'll see frequently asked questions. There'll be kind of like a little Mythbuster type of a thing, and any of the things that we see that are out there that people are asking, we certainly put that information out. So bottom line is that if you have any questions, ask somebody from the schools, and they'll, obviously we have the answer. Well, we don't have the answer. We will give you the answer that we're working with in the levy part of that. The last thing I have is really just have a great summer. I'm going to miss Dan like crazy too.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he's a great curriculum
Assistant
director.
superintendent.
He's a great all this that kind of stuff. But man, he had the best candy bowl out of anybody. Yeah.
He has to leave
And
the candy bowl behind.
I would have to get there. I knew when Mr. Jackson was coming out of his office that I was in trouble, but I would always try to get in there before. But no, in all seriousness, I think Dan's made one of the biggest impacts in the smallest amount of time in green schools, and certainly going to be missed. But we're glad that he's going to be close.
I was under the impression we were going to get to meet our new transportation supervisor this evening. We received an email stating that she would be introduced at the next board meeting on June 25th.
I wasn't aware.
We voted on
that.
her tonight.
Yeah, we voted on it, but
That she was
wasn't.
going to be here or not going to be here. I'm sorry.
Would you like, Jeff, any background that you could maybe share?
Or
Mr.
what?
Jackson, you want to?
Unless the new person is here, if they want to make themselves known. No, I'm just kidding. Or anybody else that we didn't recognize that we hired tonight. Anything like that. Oh, hold on a minute. Hold on, Mr. Jackson. What do we have here? I'm sorry. Well, hold on a minute. Wait a minute.
Oh, my gosh.
I got to give you your proper due. All right.
Why? Should we have her come out?
Hold on a minute.
Have her come up.
Well, come up and introduce yourself then. So, come on.
Now
You
we're
came
gonna-
all the way
Now
here.
you're going to
so-
embarrass her to death.
That's all right. She'll always remember when she got hired.
That's
I
right.
missed
That's
you.
true.
Hello, I'm Anna Crookmeyer. I'm the new first grade teacher at Green
Green Primary School.
Welcome.
Perfect.
And real quickly, I want to apologize because when I kind of scanned the audience, I blew right past you. So we had a third round interview. You and I did an excellent job. I know everyone's really excited, and I know the principal called me and she was ready to get in the building right away and get the materials. So it's one of those on my top of the list to check out her classroom decor when school rolls around. But I do apologize for missing you, and we're really excited. And I know Mrs. Maraschino and company can't say enough. So looking forward to it. And you did spend some time in our building, so they got to. It's one of the neat things when somebody comes in, whether it's student teaching or long-term subbing. I always think of it as an audition, and if you do a great job, great things will happen. Well, obviously, this is an example where it made the interview process still thorough. 3 rounds, that's a lot, but you came out, and it says a lot about you, so thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. We knew you were here all the time. We were just kind of waiting for the last minute to spring it on you, so.
It pays to speak up.
So, Mr. Jackson, if you don't mind.
Was an exhaustive search for a new transportation supervisor. Ms. Glenna Romine had moved on, and we had a lot of good candidates. And through, I believe, 3 separate interviews that included transportation staff, I want to thank them for their help. We selected a woman by the name of Shanna Cable, who has been the transportation supervisor at Canton City Schools for some years. She comes to us with a lot of experience. She's actually a Green resident, and I think she's going to do very, very, very good things for us. So she couldn't be here tonight because she's busy trying to button up things for her July 1st start at Canton City Schools. So we're looking forward to that.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you all who were involved in the process too, on all those things, because I'm sure, for 3 rounds of interviews, it obviously takes quite a bit of people to get that through and coordinate all that. So we do have need for executive session this evening. To go into executive session for Ohio Revised Code 121.22 G1 for personnel. Do I have a motion? And we do not anticipate any action afterwards. Do I have a motion to enter into executive session at this time?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Stoyanov.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Finelli. Mrs. Snowberger?
Mrs. Stoyanov?
Yes.
Mrs. Finelli?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Hurdlick?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Have a great summer, everybody. We'll see you next March.